And we on live. We'll give it a second or two, let everybody get in here. Welcome,
All right.
welcome, welcome. Welcome everybody for tuning in. If you're joining in, be sure to share, hit the like button, invite your friends to watch. We appreciate everybody. Welcome, Scott. Hey guys. If you don't know who my guest is here with me, is Mr. Joe Ripple from Scares That Care. We appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule and coming on and chatting with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Sarge. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate the opportunity.
Alice says, hey, Alice. I enjoy doing these things because it gives us an opportunity as a horror family to kind of interact and get to know each other and entertain each other a little bit. Um, I know I've probably been watching an obscene amount of horror movies. This morning I rewatched Friday the 13th Part 3, and it
Yeah,
was so weird seeing Jason run around with such a clean hockey mask in that movie. It,
yeah.
uh, welcome, Chris. Welcome, Joy. But Joe, if you could tell a little bit, Joe has a charity. It's a 501c charity, probably one of my favorite charities in the whole world. Scares That Care. Can you tell us how you came about forming Scares That Care?
Sure. Um, Back in the day, um, I was the head of a major East Coast horror convention for security. I was also a police officer at the time. Uh, as you start to get into the realm of horror conventions and not knowing what to expect or what not to expect, you you start to wonder about the clientele, the people that are coming. Um, Shortly after starting to do that, my partner's 3-year-old daughter contracted an inoperable brain tumor,
Hmm.
and she passed when she was 4 years old. So I had the privilege, I considered a privilege, to be one of her pallbearers. But I thought to myself, if there was ever a way that I could do something to give back, to make people not feel like they're so alone during a time, that I would do it. Now, when I was doing the horror convention, I started doing some research, um, and found they didn't have their own banner with which to donate back through for a charity organization. And I also found out that these are some of the nicest, hardest working people that are out there who have truly have the biggest hearts. They are really superb people. And I can tell you this, Sergeant, all the time that I was head of security and doing shows and attending shows, you're talking 20 plus years. In all that time, I only had to throw out one person. So, I
Wow.
mean, and that was probably just somebody who really wasn't part of the community, but who was just coming there to be, to start an issue, start a problem. So, in all of that time, when you think thousands upon thousands of people who are basically policing themselves, um, doing security for a horror convention is probably one of the easiest gigs I ever had to do. So, when you combine with what my partner went through with his child and what I experienced working with horror conventions, you put two and two together, and Scares of Care was born.
Nice. And where did you have your first Scares That Care?
The very first, well, we've done a bunch of different smaller events. What a lot of people don't know is they see, okay, well, we're coming up on Charity Weekend number 7, or we were before we postponed it till next year. So a lot of people think that charity's only about 6 years old. The charity's more than 20 years old. So we started off really, really small, and then we've kind of grown it to where it is today. I remember when I started Facebook, our Facebook page started off with 12 fans, just 12. Back then they were called fans. And now we're up to over 224,000. So really is a wonderful thing that we've been able to come together and do to the betterment of everybody.
Yeah, I have a confession to make to you, Joe. A lot of people look at me and they think, I've been going to a lot of conventions and stuff, but for the longest time, I had never been to a convention. And my first convention that I went to was years ago at a Scares That Care event in Williamsburg, Virginia.
Yep.
And it was amazing. I got to meet Sid Haig. He was so nice. Special effects makeup class with RJ Hattie from great special effects guy. Those classes were top notch. Had a ball. I just had one regret, and I learned my lesson at that one. I got a hotel room down the street instead of at the venue. So never again. I'm always staying at the venue. But it's an extraordinary event. I mean, it really is. And you nailed it. I mean, a lot of people when they hear about horror fans, oh, y'all like to watch horror movies and stuff, and y'all weirdos. But it is a good family of a lot of good-hearted people, and it is nice to have someone that is giving back, that enables us to give back. Right now, with the COVID-19 and everything going on, how can people contribute and give to Stairs That Cares right now?
Well, we kind of, when everything hit and people started, losing their jobs and being put on furlough and stuff like that, the first thing we did was we stopped accepting donations. There's other charities out there. They were still, asking for money and things like that. When I looked at all the dynamics, if I can get people to help them get through this, then they can help me later. Yeah. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Save yourself now, help me later. Well, now people are starting to open up and things are starting to go back to work. They can donate anytime through our website, which is scaresthatcare.org. There is a click link to donate right through there. And, if they want to donate via PayPal or anything like that, it's always welcome and accepted. We're coming up on a $5 donation day on the 29th. So it's about 8 days away. And what we're going to do there is you chip in $5, you get assigned a number. You $10, you get 2 numbers, $15, you get 3 numbers. And at the end of the donation day, which lasts for 24 hours, we do a drawing for prizes. And then people can go through and pick out, if they win, they can pick out which prize they want. So we try to always put something in people's hands for their donation. A lot of people don't want it. A lot of people don't expect it, but it's a lot nicer if, people feel like they're getting something for their donation.
Yeah, it's amazing. We got a lot of comments on here. Says Joe's the man.
No. And let me just say this. Let me just say this right now, Sarge. Everybody always wants to thank me and they always want to give me the praise and they always want to say, oh, you're awesome. And oh, you do this. I could not disagree with that more. Look, if you want to really show thanks to me, show thanks to the volunteers, the state reps, and the board of directors. Okay. I'm a guy who came up with an idea. How do I put it? I'm an ordinary guy who came up with an idea that's supported by extraordinary people. So don't thank me, thank them. They're the ones who deserve all the credit. I'm the face. I'm the guy in charge. I'm the CEO, obviously, but I would much rather people thank the state reps and our volunteers than to thank me. Thanking them means more to me than people coming up and shaking my hand.
That's just amazing. I mean, it's one of those situations where a lot of people don't understand unless you personally has been affected by it when someone struggles through a terminal illness or they're fighting cancer and they're going through the chemotherapy and it's just amazing that there is an organization within the horror community that could just help out.
Well, Sarge, a lot of times it's not even about the money. It's about, when people get sick, a lot of times what I've heard or what people have told me is they say, I just feel like a number. I just feel like, So here you have a group of people who are basically opening their arms and welcoming you in and saying, you're not doing this alone. So that's really the biggest thing. Look, you go through a hospital and you go through terminal illness, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in bills. What we give them a $10,000 check is a drop in the bucket. But again, it's building that sense of you're not alone. You're not going through this alone. We've adopted you. You're part of us now. And that, I think that's truly is the biggest takeaway from all of this. It's moms with sick kids calling me in the middle of the night and saying, hey, I'm feeling really down. Can you talk to me? It's people that suffer burn injuries, and when we give them a check, the first thing I do is I call Kane Hodder, and I say, hey, Kane, would you like to speak to this burn survivor? And he says, sure. So we do a FaceTime, and I hold the phone for the burn survivor to talk to Kane Hodder.
Wow.
So there's more to this than what a normal charity does.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Sid Haig earlier, and we got permission from his wife Susie that when we adopt a sick child from this point forward, they're going to be known as Uncle Sid's kid.
Wow.
So we're doing our best to try to keep the man's memory alive. So, and I figure that's the best way that we could do it.
Yeah, I picked up. I don't know if you can see it. I keep it on display back there. One of the Sid Haig patches.
The Sid Haig patches, yeah.
In memory of Sid. That's such a great thing that y'all did.
Yeah, we were going to bring them with us to the Mad Monster in Arizona, and I've had a lot of people let me know, Joe, I haven't gotten my patch. If you haven't gotten your patch, just send me a message. What I've done is I've taken the patch and I've put them in an envelope, white standard mailing envelope, and I mail them out. The problem is that the post office machinery, when the patch goes through, sometimes it catches and it eats the whole envelope. I've gotten loads of envelopes back, half eaten, half torn off, half. So just bear with me. If you ordered a patch, just shoot me a private message. Be happy to get one right out to you, and with my apologies. So doing the best we can, but from selling those patches, Sarge, we were able to send Susie $6,000 in cash.
Wow, that's amazing. And that was one of the things when Sid passed away, because he his acting. He was somebody that I looked up to, not just for being Captain Spaulding, but he did, I think, 6 pictures with Pam Grier. I mean,
yeah,
that alone is just crazy. And he was so talented, and we're like, how can we support him? And I figured that was a great way. He's one of the few celebrities that I've ever met that is so personable and so nice.
I'm sad to say that we were his last convention. Our convention last year was the last show that he did. And, a lot of the celebrities leave on Sunday, but some of them leave on Monday. And Sid was always the one who left on Monday. And I'm at the hotel. I'm wrapping everything up at the hotel. And he comes down, we say our goodbyes and things like that. And before he walked away, he said, Joe, don't ever fucking stop doing what you're doing. The world needs it. And I said, yes, sir. And that was the last time I talked to him. But, in doing what we do and all the help that he has given us, we wanted to make sure that we did something to take care of Susie, because I didn't want to cross into the next plane, to be honest with you, and have Sid Haig say, hey, Joe, what'd you do for my wife?
Yep.
So it's just something that I wanted to make sure that we still continue to show that love and respect that was earned.
Yep, I'm hoping one day maybe she'll come out to the cons or something like that and get to meet her. I've never had the opportunity to meet her.
Yeah.
Doug said we're all family, which I like that attitude, and
Yeah,
that's
we
what I
are.
try to tell people is we carry that on. I try to carry that on when people are debating horror movies because one thing about horror fans is we love to debate horror movies,
Oh,
and
sure.
people get so passionate, and I'm like, there's no wrong idea, it's what you like. And
Yeah.
I was just so curious, what's your favorite horror movies, Joe?
I typically, well, when I've got a couple of different ones. So please understand, when I was growing up, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, um, my big thing for me and my sister was to spend the night at grandma's house. Okay. So because at grandma's house, we could get away with anything. So I would sit up until midnight on Friday night with my grandfather, and we would watch Ghost Host Theater, which was big here in Baltimore. And we would watch the old Godzilla movies, and they would have the old horror films, Frankenstein, The Mummy, things like that, which, 7, 8, 9 years old, they terrify you to death. So I really like those kind of movies because there's that nostalgia feel to it. But as I grew up, the older I got, the more I realized that, to me, the scariest creatures are oftentimes the one that you create in your own mind. And by that, I mean like films like Jaws.
Yeah.
Okay. Which, you think about it, could really happen. Alien, where you never really saw the creature. You had an idea of what it was like, but you never really saw it. So to me, what you formulate in your own mind a lot of time is more frightening than what you see on the screen. So I would have to say that out of all of them, Jaws would be my favorite horror movie. And some people have debated me and said, well, that's really not a horror movie, that's a thriller. Well, to me, there's nothing more horrific than getting eaten by a great white shark. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
Jaws is terrifying. I mean,
yeah.
it is even like applicable to today's situation where
Mhm.
you got the mayor that's like, let's open the beach, we got the shark, forget the shark, we got the shark, and it's something. The For me, I like the old like 80s slashers. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is probably my most favorite of all times.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
uh
Gunnar Hansen. That was awesome.
Yep, and they're remaking that now. What what do you think of a lot of the current horror movies that are coming out?
I'm kind of torn because I feel as we get older, and I know this is true with me, as we get older, you fall in love with things that you like. And I'm glad that horror as a whole is continuing because we want to be able to make sure that, again, we can keep the genre alive, if you will.
Yeah,
So films like The Bird Box, and movies like that, I think are good. Midsummer, but everybody's a critic, and I have the opinion of, just go watch the movie. Don't worry about, if you liked it, great. If you didn't, that's fine too. But everybody wants to jump online and start becoming a full-fledged movie critic. Now, I don't do that. If somebody asks my opinion, I'll give it.
yeah.
Doesn't mean it's going to agree with your opinion, but if you ask me for my opinion, that's what you're going to get. So I think that there's a lot of I need to go in this film and see if I like it or don't like it, instead of just sitting back and letting the movie do what it's supposed to do, and that's entertain you.
Yeah,
And I hope that makes sense.
that makes perfect sense because I'm like that. That's one of the reasons why I love watching movies. Is for 2 hours you can forget about the stresses of life and just watch a movie and relax. And
Exactly. And
and it,
when people come and they say, "Well, what's so great about horror movies?" And I'll equate it to this. I'll say, "Have you ever gone to an amusement park?" And they say, "Well, yeah, sure." I said, "You ever ridden a roller coaster?" I said, "Sure." So when that roller coaster is going up and up and up and up and up, and your stress starts building up in your body, and they say, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and then all of a sudden it goes over the top, and you let out a big, huge scream. They say, "Yes." I said, "We do the same thing, only it's in a movie theater."
Yeah, I agree. I
So I
mean,
mean, yeah.
have you ever with your experience as being a police officer, have you ever watched some of these movies and they're like pick up that their cops on the movie, the actors on the movies aren't following the police protocol?
You cut out a little bit on me there, Sarge, but I think you were asking me if police in movies follow police protocol. Um, Sometimes yes, most of the time no. But keep in mind that it's a director's prerogative to make sure that they get the shot that they want. So there's a lot of times when there's different, military tactics or police tactics that aren't exactly correct. Um, we have a thing where it's called where you're lined up behind another officer and you're getting ready to breach a door or something like that, and you'll see them. They'll laze the person in front of them, which means they'll take their weapon directly across their back. Um, we never do that. It's always under and up,
Yeah.
because you actually get spooked and put around into the guy in front of you. So I mean, there are some things that are done strictly for a visual effect, which I understand, but it doesn't really bother me because I understand what it is that they're trying to do. Um, there's certain things, that you would never do in a crime scene that you see them do, and so to that extent, again, it's drama, and I know a lot of the better shows have police consultants on them, so you kind of take it with a grain of salt.
Uh, did you ever? I know it's not horror related, but I was a huge fan of The Wire,
Mhm.
and that took place up there in Baltimore. And I had a friend of mine when I lived in Washington D.C. said he was going to go on a Wire tour and tour the actual filming locations, and we were kind of advised against that, but he went. Ended up getting mugged because I guess they filmed it in legitimately rough neighborhoods.
Yeah, yeah. What you see is what you get with The Wire,
Wow.
uh, and it's probably gotten a little bit worse now than what it was. Um, but again, you can't judge all of Baltimore by what you see in certain sections of the community. Um, for example, there's a Jewish community, and I forget the name of the road, but if you're driving down the road, there's a Jewish community, and then you hit North Avenue, and then once you hit North Avenue and you cross over, that's an African American community. But the two communities never interact. It's like, and there's no wall, there's nothing that says that they can't interact. They just choose not to do so, and they get along just fine. So a lot of what you'll see down there is you'll see a lot of gang related, uh, drug dealer on drug dealer crime. You'll also see people that will get mugged because they go in the wrong area at the wrong time. Um, we've had people come to, when I was doing the security up in Baldwin, say, I'm going to go see the Inner Harbor. So when the show closes and it's nighttime, we're going to go down the Inner Harbor. No, you're not. No, you're not. So it's just, street smarts, common sense, whatever you want to call it. That's how you just have to play the game.
Yeah, it was eye opening for me living in the DC metro area. I lived actually right down the street from the Pentagon, right there in Arlington.
Okay.
You get so used to a slow life down south, and you go up there and everything's so busy. It's hectic on a whole nother level. But I've
Yeah,
never had
especially
any trouble. The
yeah.
people
Well,
are just
especially
nice. Sorry.
well, number one, you're big. You're a big guy, so they typically aren't going to mess with big guys. They'll mess with guys like me, guys that are like 5'6" and weigh 150 pounds or whatever. But again, it's common sense, head on a swivel, and that's the way you carry yourself. And if you you always trust your gut, and if you feel like you're in the wrong area, then you're in the wrong area. So you know
And having you said working the conventions and stuff like that as security before having scares at care. What is probably like one of your most memorable experiences at a convention?
one of my most memorable experiences at a convention. Well, I mean, you always, I really, really enjoy seeing people meet their idols for the first time. There's nothing better, you know. They're wide eyed, they're amazed, and then it's they get the shakes, and they're rocking back and forth in line because they're so nervous and so excited. Me, letting somebody meet their idol, I think, is one of the greatest things that anybody can witness because it's nothing but pure happiness. It's pure joy. And there's been some incidents that aren't so great involving celebrities, and you see some of the stuff on Facebook. But by and far, those are very, very rare. These celebrities, they come out here and they want to meet their fans, and yeah, they're getting paid and things like that, but it's still enjoyable for them. I mean, let
Yeah.
me ask you this. Would you enjoy sitting behind a table for 6 hours and getting paid and having people come up and tell you how great you are?
Oh yeah.
Of course you would. So I mean, it's all encompassing, and I really do enjoy, you know, seeing people meet their fans, and I'm seeing people meet their favorite celebrities, and I also enjoy seeing the kids when the kids get dressed up and they're cute as buttons, and they're walking around in their little pinheads or little Michael Myers or whatever. It's fun. It's just fun.
Now you mentioned Michael Myers. What did you enjoy the latest Halloween movie? Because we got the Halloween Kills is coming out this year too.
I'll be honest with you, Sarge. I haven't seen it yet. I have not seen it yet. Between being a dad and the virus and running the charity and working a full-time job, it's kind of difficult to make some time to see a movie. I haven't even seen Avengers Endgame yet. So it's quite daunting to try to do all this stuff and stay up with what's good. Now, fortunately, because of the Facebook and things like that, you can always find out spoilers about what happens. But I
Yeah.
was very, very interested to see where they went with the direction. I'm really interested to see where they go. I'm not sure if they're going to kind of wrap things up with Halloween Kills, um, but I suspect that they will. I think that'll be the last. Well, never say never, but we'll see.
Yeah, because they're doing a reboot of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which
Oh, that
you know, I'm I don't know. I wasn't too happy with the Leatherface. You have a movie like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You say, "Hey, we're going to do prelude or however you say that of
pre-
the Leatherface." Yep, and they filmed it in Belgium or Bulgaria.
mhm.
I mean, you can't film something affiliated with Texas, not in Texas. I mean,
Well, you can when it's cheaper. You can when it's film overseas and it is in Texas. And keep in mind too, when these studios are putting a budget together, they're trying to stretch that dollar to squeeze every single cent out of it. And if they can film cheaper in Bulgaria and make it look like Texas, they're going to do it. Um, that's one of the things that a lot of the states are trying to do is improve their arts incentive for tax breaks for businesses to come in and film. Like North Carolina is great for filming, and Georgia is great, and that's why you have The Walking Dead in that area. Um, but there was even some consideration about The Walking Dead moving to Canada because of them thinking about not doing the tax breaks anymore. So it all boils down to money. And again, where it's filmed, you know, not necessarily being in Texas, even though it's called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Again, I just want to be entertained.
yeah.
Just entertain me for a couple hours, and I'm happy.
Now, did you hear the news that HBO Max is going to be releasing the Snyder Cut of Justice League?
I did. I did.
I couldn't believe that. That was just like a jaw drop. I mean,
Yeah, it's money. They're
go
going
ahead. I'm sorry.
it's going to be it's about money, and I know they've put about $20 million into it so far, um, for that Snyder cut. So, I'll be honest with you, I was disappointed with Justice League. I actually did see it, and I was disappointed. Marvel does a much, much better job with multi-tiered characters in that type of movie environment. My opinion. Don't everybody start ripping me apart because I said Marvel's better than DC. No, I just thought visually that Marvel did a better job. So I want to see what the Snyder Cut does. I want to see what it brings. I know that they delve more into the characterization of Cyborg and things like that. So I want to see how that pans out.
I mean, because I was looking, because occasionally I look online, and people online can be vicious sometimes, and you should be kind, because you never know when you're going to leave a comment, and that person could knock on your door and ask you about your comment.
Well, that's I'll be honest with you. Even the charity has its detractors, you know, and we've had some negative comments, and I get negative comments all the time, and you know, my response is I just hold up the picture, and it's, to date we've raised and donated $250,000 to
Wow.
feed. So I mean, that's all you can say whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah, and people were getting downright rude about whether or not the Snyder Cut actually existed. Uh,
Why waste the energy?
yeah,
Why
Uh,
why
the- the-
I people get so wrapped up these days, and I guess with people being stuck at home, it's even worse. But I mean, why even waste the energy in being negative? If you're negative all the time, negative attract negativity, and that's what you're going to bring in your life. So you try to be happy and try to be positive, and somebody does something, first thing you should do is stand up and say, "Hey, congratulations." Not what they did wrong or what you saw was wrong. Life's too short, folks. Too short.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's one of the things I think. Everybody out there. We got to be patient with each other. People are more stressed these days, and
Yeah.
be kind to each other and help shed a kind word, because you never know what somebody's going through or what somebody's thinking, or if somebody doesn't have a friend.
Yeah.
I mean, the things you say to somebody can be the last thing that they ever hear from anybody.
Well,
You know,
it's the saying, Sarge. Everybody's fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So you should be kind always.
Yep. And that's what I think at this point in history we need to, as a community, not even just even the hard community, but just as communities together, just come together and help each other out, and try to support each other, even if it's nothing but a kind word, because like you said, you give them a check, but at the same time, the psychological support of people knowing that they have people there for them means a whole lot more than any amount of money.
Absolutely. And it's just look, there are entitled people out there. Okay. They think they don't have to, they put themselves first. And that's okay if that's what they want to do. But to me, I can't be like that. I when this charity was founded, it wasn't about how much money we could raise, but in the manner in which we did it. There are people who will come up to me and they'll put $5 in my hand. Okay. And they'll say, "Joe, give them, make sure this gets to the family." Somebody who walks up and puts $5 in my hand, that $5 means more to me than somebody who walks up and writes me a check for $5,000. You know why? Because the person who writes me a check for $5,000 can afford it. That
Yeah.
$5 that was put in my hand is probably somebody's lunch for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So to me, that $5 means more. And oh man, you want to talk about pulling on your heartstrings when the kids come up to you and they got their little penny jars and they tell you, "Mr. Joe, I've been saving all my pennies this year because I want to help the families," and they hand you the penny jar. I mean, what can you say to that other than to the parents for thank you for raising a child in this way, you know? But there's going to be people out there that no matter what we do, they're not gonna see the things that we see, and it's just like arguing with people on Facebook. I saw a thing on Facebook one time. It says arguing with people on Facebook is like playing chess with a pigeon. because no matter what you do, the pigeon's going to knock over all the pieces, shit on the board, and walk around like he won anyway. So I mean,
That's true.
why even bother? So
Yeah. One of the things I failed to mention this when I go to an event and you guys are there, y'all have the best stuff that y'all auction off. I mean, the best.
yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoy that because sometimes people can't afford just to buy it straight out, but they could buy get a donation, get a raffle, chip in that way, and it's just amazing. Amazing. And you said they could currently give on y'all's website right now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, all they got to do is go to scaresthatcare.org, and Scares That Care is one word, and they can make a donation right through the site.
That's amazing. And if anybody's watching, if everybody that has watched this, if they share it and share a kind word with somebody, because like Joe said, we need to be more supportive of each other, both psychologically, and if you can, go to scaresthatcare.org and help support them because they're here to support us. And that's the way I feel about it is, give it to you guys is really support myself because you're here for all of us,
And Sarge, can I just piggyback on that real quick?
Yes, sir.
I know that Mad Monster postponed their Arizona show. And people were upset and people were disappointed, and I get that. I just want to let people know what a class act that Eben and Kevin and the rest of the Mad Monster staff are. When Eben called me and said, "Hey, listen, we're looking for a charity. We'd like to make you our charity." I've had myriad conventions call me, and some of them follow through. Most of them don't. But there's never been a time when I couldn't pick up the phone and call Eben and discuss a problem with him or talk about a celebrity that I'm interested in booking that he's had. There's never been a time where I haven't walked away from the Mad Monster Party Convention with less than $3,000 in donations. So in all the time that we have been partnered with Mad Monster, a lot of people see promoters as greedy, as backstabbers, as standoffish, as they're just egotistical. That could not be further from the truth with Eben. Now, I understand that people may have a different opinion based on the interactions that they've had with people. A lot of people don't get that we as promoters, the majority of comments that we get, the majority of questions that we get are, "What can you do for me?" Meaning the people who are reaching out to us. And even working a charity event, it's like, okay, well, I'm a band and I want to come play at your show, and I can guarantee you I'm going to have 100 people there. My response to them is, okay, well, you can buy 100 tickets and then you can play at the event. Well, no, now you're just an asshole and blah, 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 blah. Because we know what they're telling us isn't true. Okay? So while people may have different opinions, I just want everybody to understand, everybody to realize exactly the impact that Mad Monster has had on this charity. And the amount of money that we've been able to raise courtesy of Eben, Jeannie, Kevin, the rest of Mad Monster staff has been phenomenal. And it has helped us reach our goals much faster than if we were to just do it ourselves. So give the people a break who run Mad Monster. They're doing the best they can. We are in uncharted waters for all of us. Just make sure you show their respect. They'll be back next year. I guarantee it.
We appreciate that. We definitely appreciate that. It definitely is uncertain times. I always very grateful at the opportunity Mad Monster has given me to come on and talk about horror movies with horror fans, and talking with people like yourself. It's just amazing. And I think with the uncertainty comes the stress, and we just got to combat it all together and do what is safe for everybody. Somebody told me the other day, they said, asked me a question the other day. They said, would you like to meet Betty White? And I was like, yeah. They're like, could you imagine if they forced Betty White to do a con and you gave her COVID-19? I was like, I wouldn't want to be that fan. I would not want to endanger none of these horror legends or my fellow, mankind. So it's definitely, we just got to stay safe together.
Well, it's one of those situations, Sarge, where I try to put it like this. Look, nobody knows anything right now, but the people who do know something about it are the people like Dr. Fauci from the CDC and stuff like that. So while everybody's opinion may be different about how, where, why, when, who, I'm going to do what I feel is in the best interest of me and my family. And like when I go out, I wear a mask. I'm at work right now. I go out on the floor, I'll put a mask on. So I mean, it's just about not about because I'm feeling like I'm controlled or feeling like I'm afraid. I don't know if I presently have the virus. So when I put a mask on, it's not because I'm afraid for me. It's that I'm trying to be courteous of the other people out there. Again, people are going to disagree. I respect that. I understand it. I'm just letting you know that that's my view.
Well, we appreciate you taking your time, Joe. And like I said, if anybody is not aware of Scares That Care, you definitely need to go to scaresthatcare.org, visit their site. If you're looking for a charity to donate to, it is a more than worthy cause. And we appreciate you taking your time out of the day. And anytime you want to come on, the invitation is available, Joe.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarge. And like I said, if you need a filler, somebody cancels, pulls out on you, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to jump on and join in with you.
All right. You take care. Stay safe out there, Joe.
You too. We'll see everybody later and see everybody safer later and next year.
Mad Monster, we're out.